Yugi has lost only a few duels in his story, but those rare defeats hold special significance. In this series, we'll examine each of Yugi's losses step by step and analyze why he suffered them. Let's begin chronologically with his first duel against Pegasus. In the manga, this is the first duel Yugi has fought in a while, as his last duel against Kaiba occurred roughly 20 chapters earlier, and that was followed up by the whole Monster World Bakura arc. A central aspect of Yugioh is the mental state of its characters. What led to Yugi's downfall in this duel is that even the strongest duelists can hardly win if they are not mentally focused. Yugi was at a mental disadvantage in several ways. After his victory over Kaiba, he had decided not to engage in any serious duels until Kaiba recovered. For this reason, he didn't even participate in the national championship. Moreover, at the start of the duel against Pegasus, he lacked a clear motivation, as nothing significant was initially at stake. Pegasus, on the other hand, had clear ambitions. He wanted to defeat Yugi to draw him into the duelist kingdom, where he could defeat him again and gain control over the Kaiba Corporation. Pegasus not only had strong determination, but also executed a carefully planned strategy to systematically break Yugi, both mentally and in the duel. The duel begins with an element of surprise. Pegasus appears on the television screen after Yugi inserts a tape. The creator of Duel Monsters challenges Yugi to provoke his skills. Pegasus was aware of Yugi's victory over Kaiba, which is precisely why he targeted him. This sudden challenge out of nowhere marks the first layer of his strategy: disorientation. Additionally, there's the question of how one can even duel against a recording. But Pegasus doesn't take long to introduce the next layer of his strategy. He instructs Yugi to build his deck in front of the screen, an action that later proves crucial. For Yugi, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to duel the creator of one of his favorite games. At first, he's motivated and starts the duel with a positive mindset. However, the very first turn demonstrates Pegasus' superiority. Yugi summons the Komori dragon, which Pegasus immediately counters with the dragon capture jar. But it's not just a simple counter. Pegasus reveals to Yugi that he knew exactly what card he would summon and how he intended to use it. This marks the next layer of Pegasus' strategy: mental manipulation. The question of how Pegasus could possibly know his moves throws Yugi completely off balance. Then Pegasus takes his strategy to an even deeper level. The Komori dragon is sucked into the screen and Yugi realizes the duel has suddenly turned serious. It has become a shadow game. The Pharaoh then takes control, but Pegasus remains unfazed, unaware of the dark powers of the Millennium items. The manipulation continues. Pegasus mocks Yugi, downplays his serious demeanor, and insists it's just a game they should enjoy, with a little Yugi boy at the end. These provocations prevent Yugi from thinking clearly and finding an answer to Pegasus' apparent foreknowledge of his cards. Pegasus further demonstrates his power by explaining that the Dragon Capture Jar is far from his strongest card, and that even a Blue Eyes White Dragon would be powerless against it. By doing so, he deliberately steers Yugi into playing different cards. Yugi summons Silver Fang and plans to strengthen it with the Mystic Moon. But Pegasus counters again with Dragon Piper, which releases the dragons captured in the Dragon Capture Jar. Yugi's own Komori dragon is then turned against him. Time and again, Yugi is countered until he begins to believe that Pegasus is truly unbeatable. But Pegasus doesn't leave Yugi in this mental abyss. He provokes his fighting spirit by pointing out that Yugi must compete in Duelist Kingdom if he loses. He even mocks Kaiba, suggesting he may never wake up from his coma. These provocations push Yugi to search for a solution. Yugi believes he's figured out the trick behind Pegasus' knowledge. He suspects that Pegasus inserted subliminal frames into the videotape to subconsciously influence his decisions. That's why Yugi thinks he was asked to build his deck in front of the screen. Pegasus pretends that Yugi has found the right answer and intentionally falls into his trap. Yugi sees this as confirmation of his theory and regains confidence, but then he notices that events aren't unfolding as they should if his assumptions were correct. Pegasus finally admits that he did use subliminal frames, but this was part of his plan all along. He knew Yugi would discover this, and he used this realization to once again shake Yugi's confidence. Yugi is trapped, unable to unravel Pegasus' strategy, while Pegasus continues to control the game. Pegasus adds another layer. He activates a 15-minute timer. The player with the most life points at the end wins the duel, and the loser must face punishment. A penalty game, as is customary in shadow games. This puts Yugi under even more pressure. He manages to attack Pegasus with the Dark Magician, reducing Pegasus' life points to 300, giving Yugi a glimmer of hope. But Pegasus counters with the Faceless Illusionist, which halts the Dark Magician. Yugi, undeterred, attacks with Celtic Guardian to finish the duel. However, Pegasus reveals his true strategy. The Faceless Illusionist allows him to control the Dark Magician for one turn, which he uses to destroy Celtic Guardian. This drops Yugi's life points below Pegasus, putting him on the brink of defeat. Yugi grows increasingly desperate, starting to believe Pegasus can even see the future. With only 13 seconds left on the timer, Pegasus ends his turn and thanks Yugi for the duel, seemingly confident of his victory. But Yugi doesn't give up. In the final seconds, he summons the Summoned Skull and launches an attack that would win him the duel. Yet, before the attack can land, time runs out. With just 100 fewer life points than Pegasus, Yugi loses the duel. Though it seemed close, Pegasus remains calm. He even suggests he might have lost had the attack gone through, but follows it with unquestioning or would I, casting doubt on his sincerity. Pegasus controlled the duel from start to finish. Even when Yugi appeared to escape his traps, Pegasus was always several steps ahead. Everything in this duel, from psychological games to the time limit, was part of Pegasus' carefully calculated strategy. This was the first loss the pharaoh had ever suffered, and though it seemed narrow, it was in truth an overwhelming victory for Pegasus. In the end, Pegasus seals the soul of Yugi's grandfather in the television screen and reveals that he can read his opponent's hearts using the Millennium Eye. This explains how he was always one step ahead of Yugi. Pegasus, another opponent wielding a Millennium item, completely outplayed Yugi, setting the stage for their next confrontation in Duelist Kingdom. So, that was Yugi's first loss. In the next video we'll discuss Yugi's loss to Kaiba in Duelist Kingdom. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this recap and if it gave you a new perspective on the duel against Pegasus. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like and don't forget to comment. Thanks everyone, and see you next time. UTS.